Welcome back to From the Shed End with myself, T.Dot. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Before we get into the video, please go and subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you go back and check all our previous podcast episodes, and also make sure you give this video a thumbs up. But what can I say? Another dull performance, another bottled performance from the club, from the team, from Graham Potter. We're going to get into all of that hopefully in the next couple of minutes or so. But I've got to be honest. Drawing to Everton is crazy. Drawing to Everton is not ideal. Not the performance that we wanted, not the performance that we needed, and not the performance that, based on the game, we should be walking away with 1 point. Disappointing from start to end. The lineup as well. I mean, the lineup wasn't the issue. I mean, we started the game really well. You know, Kepa in goal, Reece James. We had Wesley Fofana, Koulibaly, and Badiashile, Ben Chilwell, Enzo Kovacic, João Felix, Havertz, Christian Pulisic. So I wasn't really disappointed in terms of the lineup. I thought the lineup was the lineup. The lineup was what it was, what it is. But and we played really well. I mean, let's be honest, we started the game really well. We controlled the game. We had a lot more possession of the ball. But it's more of the same. I mean, let's be honest, it's more of the same, not taking our chances. We can create as many chances as we want. And, you know, I'm seeing João Felix trying to work the ball into the box. I'm seeing Ben Chilwell trying to put balls into the box. Reece James trying to do the same. But this has been an issue, I feel, for Chelsea for, let's say, 17-18 season. Diego Costa, before then, Didier Drogba. You know, and I talk about this so much on this channel. We don't have anyone in the box. We either need someone who's really, really creative and can score 15 to 20 goals up front, or we need a traditional number 9, Harry Kane sort of striker, Erling Haaland. We need someone who is of that quality going forward, because we can create as many chances and have as much ball possession of the ball as much as we want. But when we're not taking those chances, it's so telling at the end of the 90 minutes. It doesn't matter what we do, because we just don't take our chances. We don't. You know, we kept Everton at bay. I don't think, you know, Demarai Gray, give him his credit, was running around first half. We were trying to make things happen for Everton in the first half as well. Dwight McNeil as well. But we just done everything right in that first half. And as much as the first half went on, I did think this is going to be a 0-0 or a 1-0 or even a 1-0 to Everton. You know, and then we just done really well in the first half. Everything was right. Kovacic was linking up with the front three of Pulisic, Havertz, and João Felix, and same with Enzo Fernandez. I thought the back three of Fofana, who I thought was outstanding in the game. Fofana was brilliant. Badiashile looked a bit rusty, if I'm honest. He looked like you could tell that he'd missed a couple of games. Koulibaly, and I've said this on here before, Koulibaly is one of those players now. We don't know what Koulibaly is going to turn up. We don't. And I look at Koulibaly as the most experienced in that back three of Wesley Fofana and Badiashile, and I look at him, and he is the one that should be the most experienced, and he's the one that makes the most mistakes in the back for us. This is happening too often. This is happening too often as an experienced centre back, 31 years of age. Wesley Fofana and Badiashile looking at you, Koulibaly, to make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, and then you can help us, you can guide us and tell us what we're supposed to be doing. It seems to be the other way around. For Wesley Fofana was clearly the best centre-back on the pitch for us. Clearly. Reece James trying to do what he can do going forward. I thought he was really good, but there's only so much he can do. There's only so much Ben Chilwell can do. You know, Kai Havertz, I don't want to get onto him too much because he scored the penalty, but, you know, how many chances does this man need to score a goal? And during the game, you know, I had a couple of people telling me that, you know, João Felix is, you know, not the player that we think he is, or he's just a flair player, or he's not the best player. And I think he's the only one in our attack that's actually trying to do something. Kai Havertz was not doing anything really up until the penalty. He missed, I think, 2 sitters from set pieces, from a header. Maybe 3, actually. I think he had a hat-trick of headers that he could have scored. Christian Pulisic didn't really do anything, really. It was a strange game. You know, you have to think about Mudryk on the bench, who isn't playing, hasn't featured recently for us. Why not bring him in? Why not give him the opportunity to score or to do something or try and change the game. It just didn't make any sense. First half I thought we were brilliant, but it didn't make any sense. And then, early on in the second half, we get that goal. João Felix, the one player that is actually trying to do something, scores a brilliant goal. It was a goal that realistically he shouldn't be even given the opportunity to score from there. I think it goes through someone's legs. But yeah, I mean, it was a good goal. You have to take those goals. Pickford potentially didn't see it till late as well, so that benefited us. But you look at Everton, and they always have something in them. They're a team that like to fight. You look again in the first half. You saw that I think it was Idris Gay got booked, I think, as well. Dwight McNeil picked up a yellow card. There was a moment as well where James Tarkowski potentially could have easily been given a yellow, maybe a red, more so a yellow for the pullback on João Felix in the first half. I'm not sure how the linesman misses that, but Everton were fighting throughout that game. Throughout the game, they fought through it and they tried to make something happen. And, whenever they got the ball, they were trying to counter and move that ball as fast as they could to Damari Gray, using the wing players of Dwight McNeil and Iwobi as well. But, even at 1-0, you still, as a Chelsea fan, you still can't be comfortable. You can't be comfortable because you know that at some point Everton might score or we might do something stupid. I knew at 1-0 that there was always still the opportunity for Everton to get a goal. But I want to talk about the subs, because these subs for me, I mean, I'm still trying to process them. I think the first sub made sense to me. You go 1-0 up, you bring off Christian Pulisic, who, as I said, wasn't really effective in terms of the game. You bring on Conor Gallagher, who Graham Potter seems to be a big fan of. But again, as I said, you've got Mudryk on there. It's 1-0. You still need to chase the game. You still need to try and get a second goal. You still need to try and make something happen. You can't just sit back, and I'm looking now. We made that sub at 60 minutes, 62 minutes. So there's still 35 minutes at least in the game. So you can't expect these players to come on and just suddenly sit back and allow Everton to apply the pressure. Not soon after that, and I said this as well, I think I said this on the last episode that we recorded yesterday. I said it on a couple of people's WhatsApp groups this morning. If Everton are going to score, it's going to be from a set piece. Corner, free kick. And we shouldn't even be struggling. Let's be honest, we should not be struggling from set. We've got Badiashile, who's very tall. We've got Koulibaly, very tall. Kai Havertz, another one that can come in and do a job there. Enzo Fernandez as well. It just didn't make any sense to me that I knew they were going to score from a set piece, because that is just I don't know, our Achilles heel. We can't seem to defend set pieces and corners. So the ball comes in. I think it's an opportunity to back for I can't remember if might be Tarkowski. I think he's pretty much unmarked. I think Koulibaly and Fofana try and get the ball to go closer to Fofana, to Tarkowski, to try and get the ball from the corner. They don't win the header, and then the Correa again. I think it's Koulibaly potentially leaves the Correa unmarked, and a little flick on past Kepa, who is basically rooted to the ground. He can't do anything about the goal. Havertz tries to clear it off the line too late. As soon as it's 1-1, you kind of think to Graham Potter, right, you've got to try and at least change this now. You've got to try and bring on something. Maybe bring on Mudryk. Now you look at Mudryk, maybe I'm going to get onto someone else that potentially should have been on the pitch. But he doesn't do that. He does not do that. He brings on Ruben Loftus-Cheek. He brings on Carney Chukwuemeka, and he brings on Trevor Chalobah for Mateo Kovacic, João Felix, and Wesley Fofana. Now, if there's one thing I have to blame Graham Potter for today, it is the substitutions. And I've said on here many times before, Graham Potter has to get his in-game tactics right. He has to get his substitutions right. He has to get what he's trying to get his team to do. And he has to decide at what point does he want to try and see the game out. At 60 minutes, you can't do that. You can't do that. Because at the moment, even when we bring on those subs, and before that, obviously, we scored the penalty that Kai Havertz put away. Reece James was fouled. It's 2-1. You bring on the three substitutions. You can't do that. You can't do that because for me personally, bearing in mind, N'Golo Kante was on the bench. And my rule is if he's on the bench, he's fit enough to play. Give him some minutes. Give him 20 minutes. Give him something. Give him something to run out for. He's not been selected for the France squad, so he's not going to be playing in the internationals. Then, he's not. He needs game time. He needs game time before the Champions League. And this, for me, would have been a perfect game to just give him 10, maybe give him 15 minutes, just a run out. Just give Kante the run out. Give him something to think about as well. Give those Everton players something that they've got now. We know what Kante's about. We know what he can do. Give him something to do in the middle of that pitch. If you're going to take Kovacic off, bring on N'Golo Kante. Bring him on because he's not going to. He needs minutes. He's worth the risk, in my opinion. But to bring off Wesley Fofana was another head scratcher. As you can see, I'm scratching. But you can't bring off your best centre back and bring on Trevor Chalobah cold into the game with a couple of minutes to go. 87 minutes, it brings him on. You can't do that. You can't do that because he's coming in cold to a game. And he wasn't even at fault for the goal. Ellis Sims, who's a player that I've watched a lot for Everton development squad, but Ellis Sims, what a goal. His first goal. Credit to Everton because they didn't give up and they fought through. And their substitutions made sense because if you notice, there was only two. It was Mikalenko and Ellis Sims. Two. He kept on Damari Gray, who kept running tirelessly for the ball from start to end. But Ellis Sims for that goal, I've only watched it live. I didn't see it. I've not watched any replays, but Koulibaly has to do better. He has to do better. The way that he's running towards Ellis Sims rather than into the area of the pitch that Ellis Sims is trying to occupy with the ball, he's running towards the player. It doesn't make any sense because now you've committed yourself. And if Ellis Sims knocks that ball past you, which he did, you've sold yourself short. You can't redeem yourself. You can't recover from that. You have to run into the space that Ellis Sims is trying to get the ball into and cut off whatever he's trying to do. Block that shot. Help Kepa. He doesn't do that. He runs towards the player. Makes no sense. Whilst it was 2-1, I always thought this was always going to be a potential 2-2 because you just know there's a mistake in us at the back. There's a mistake in how we play. And the substitutions killed us today. We have to be honest. Potter, we've credited him for the Dortmund game, for the Leeds game, for the Leicester game. But tonight, he got it wrong completely in terms of substitutions. They didn't make any sense. For me, you've brought off Kovacic, who's working tirelessly. You're bringing on someone that doesn't really make sense. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, to credit him, he's played, I think it was his 149th game for Chelsea. But you've got Kante, who needs minutes. We know what he can do. He's comfortable in that position. We're dying to see him with Enzo. Give him a couple of minutes. Why have you put him on the bench to leave him sat on the bench? Surely it's worth a risk because we don't have a game for 2 weeks now. Surely it's worth the risk. Our next game, I think, is on the 1st of April. So 2 weeks today. Just give him a chance. Put him in the team. Give him some minutes. You can't expect him to go into the Villa game cold. So now he's got another 2-week period, which will benefit him to be able to say, right, I'm not going to be playing football, but I can still continue my rehabilitation. But that would have been a perfect time just to give him 10 or 15 minutes. Just give him 10 or 15 minutes. Because we dominated the game from start to end. And we allowed Everton slowly, maybe the last 20, maybe 15 minutes of the game in the second half to come back in. And I think the substitution that Sean Dyche made was critical and crucial. And it worked for Everton. Ellis Sims coming in, it worked for them. We can't afford to go into the season, and I've said this before, next season, we can't afford to go into next season with these same issues of creating chances, relying on penalties to get us through. We can't afford to do that. We might not have João Felix next season, and for me personally, he's one of the best players that we've got in the team at the moment, alongside Enzo Fernandez and the Wesley Fofanas and those kind of players. But when I'm seeing the likes of, Ruben Loftus-Cheek coming on, you've got Mudryk sitting on the bench and Pulisic is starting the game. That doesn't make any sense to me. So there's a lot that you have to question in terms of Graham Potter, not because of the goals, because I think the goals were avoidable. I think if we defended the corner better, it doesn't go in and we don't get Tarkowski that space to then allow Decore to flick it into the goal. And I think that the second goal, I think Koulibaly has to do better. as an experienced centre back, he has to do better in that position. He can't be affording so much time and space for Ellis Sims to run into, to then knock the ball past Kepa. And again, without looking at the replays, I think Kepa potentially could save that. I don't know. Maybe could get a fingertip to it. I need to see it again. But I think it's those kind of things next season. We have to iron out all those kind of stuff this season. And this is where I say write this season off and know what your best 11 is. For me personally, I'd love to know why Mudryk is not in the team. I'd love to know why Kante isn't coming on, when clearly you need someone in that midfield that can do that job. And it is N'Golo Kante that does that. I need to understand why you're taking off one of your best centre-backs who's in Wesley Fofana, who's basically been the best centre-back out of the three of them on the pitch. It doesn't make any sense to me. So there's a lot that we need to unpack, I think, the next couple of months in terms of how we're going to play. We're crying out for a striker. We're crying out for a number 9. If this doesn't tell us now, and I said it a couple of weeks ago, why are we not going for Ivan Toney? Why are we not going for? Because eventually what's going to happen is he is going to go to a bigger club. He is going to move on from Brentford. He will go to somewhere else. Whether Brentford get European football or not, I think he's that good of a player. He can take the next step up and be it, I don't know, a Liverpool or United or wherever. Why are we not going in for Ivan Toney? You know, there's talk now, obviously Lukaku might be returning next season to Chelsea, but I mean, we need someone who's prolific in front of goal next season. We need someone, and then Nkunku might not be the answer to that. He might not be the one that we look to do that. We need someone who's prolific in front of goal, that can score goals. It doesn't matter what situation they're in, what system they're in. We need someone in that role as a number 9 that can do the job. And at the moment, we don't have that. And we haven't had that since Diego Costa. And this is why we're struggling. If you look back to all those seasons, you look at our top goal scorers, are potentially never a striker because we've never really played with one. So we need a number 9, or we need someone who can play that role better than Kai Havertz, but can still score the goals as a traditional number 9 would do. But it's been a poor game, you know, to drop 2 points, to walk away with 1 when you've done so well in terms of the performance and the way that we played, especially in the first half, to then drop 2 points and then not really progress anywhere in the table, to end this part of the season and then go on to an international break as well. For me, it's always the killer because you want the next game to come just as fast. But there's still a lot we need to do and address in that team for me. And like I said, Potter has to get things tactically right during the game. It's all well and good doing it at the start, or you know, when he pulls it off, it looks good, but you've got to do it consistently, and you've got to make the right subs and change things tactically in the game to see the game out. But do it properly. Don't just bring on a bunch of players and then there's no real idea. You've got to see the game out. You have to see the game out, and that's something that Graham Potter is going to have to address and understand as he's the Chelsea manager. But let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Give me all your thoughts. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you hit that Linktree link in the description as well. This has been T.Dot. Until next time, thank you very much.